St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
Good afternoon and welcome back to St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Missouri State Representative Richard West. I have with me today my co-host, Jane Pushkar, and we have a very special guest, which I'll introduce in a minute. Jane, how was your week?
It was fantastic. How about yours?
It wasn't bad.
I'm just having fun.
Just having fun.
Yeah.
So we have with us today a friend of mine. I'm going to say a special friend of mine. He's a fellow legislator. He is a fellow Christian. He's a father and a husband, and he works for a small business in St. Charles County and a true patriot for not only Missouri, but for America. Would you help me introduce the Senator of District 23, Senator Adam Schnelting? Adam, welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me, Rich. Good to be here with you both.
And a fun fact about Adam, he's a friend of mine as well. He also leads a prayer group that I've been involved with. Does a great job too.
Good.
We have a good time.
Well, we are gathered here today to talk about some upcoming amendments on our next voting period, which will be November 4th, I believe. Mm-hmm. It is, we made it through primaries with some bloody noses and bruised eyes, but here we stand today. I think the big things on this next coming election season is the biggest thing is probably going to be Amendment 3. Adam, you crafted it. You pushed it through the Senate and we got it through the House. And I'm just going to let you dive right into, first of all, how we got where we're at. And then we can go into the weeds about what Amendment 3 is.
Yeah, certainly. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be on the program with both of you. I appreciate you.
Welcome back.
So in regards to Amendment 3, I would like to kind of back up a little bit and start with the old Amendment 3 from 2024. And listeners should be very careful not to get confused. When we talk about Amendment 3 passed in 2024 by a slim margin. And what it did was it enshrined abortion on demand in our Constitution. It stripped away the health and safety standards for women's clinics that we had in statute. And so it essentially just brought abortion on demand to the state of Missouri. So Missouri went really overnight from one of the most pro-life states in the Union to one of the most radical abortion havens, not just in the country, not just in the United States, but actually in the world.
Yeah.
And so it's very problematic. Lately, we've been seeing these memes and stories being shared on social media about what happened in the state of Massachusetts with the governor signing, abortion on demand up to the moment of birth into law, right? And there are states that already have that, like Vermont, right? But that is actually possible here as well, because the text in our current Constitution from the current Amendment 3 from 2024 allows for that exception up to the moment of birth if it's in the quote unquote health, the mental health of the mother.
Sure.
Well, it's obviously a problem, and there's no reason for something like that. We already have medical emergency statutes, so it's a radical amendment, and we need to fix it. So, insert here Amendment 3 of 2026. Okay. Amendment 3 of 2026 does two main things. It actually does quite a few. It's a very pro-life, pro-woman, and pro-child piece of legislation or amendment. But the two main things is this, what folks need to take away and remember. It will limit most abortions. There are exceptions for rape and incest and fatal fetal anomalies.
Yep.
And then the second thing it does is it makes a permanent ban on transgender surgeries or so-called sex changes on little kids, right? On minors. And so we have a ban in statute right now for the surgery aspect, and we have an expiring ban. It expires next year for all the hormones and puberty blockers and things of that nature. This would make that permanent. That would make that permanent law in the state of Missouri. So when we go out and we vote on Amendment 3, we're going to be voting to protect women and children and reinstituting health and safety standards at clinics. And I think that's a very good policy for the state of Missouri. And I think it's one that is really well in line with most voters in the state of Missouri. Because when you go back and we talk about Amendment 3 from 2 years ago, there was a very deceptive campaign waged in the state of Missouri. Not only were pro-lifers in the state outspent over 10-1, There was about $32 million came in from out of state to support the old Amendment 3. But we were told women were dying in our hospitals from an inability to get health care. That was not, that was simply false.
That's not true.
So what we're doing is we're trying to present something to the voters that corrects a wrong, it rights a wrong that we did 2 years ago.
Go ahead.
I think it's important to note here too, Adam and Richard, that whole change from one of the most restrictive abortion policies or statutes to the one we have now was done by initiative petition. So my thanks to the legislature and everyone involved for changing that and having women's best interest and the child's best interest at heart. But
yeah, so I think a lot of this has to deal with, to the listener, needs to know a little bit of the history on this. One of the things is when that initiative petition came forth, that was not crafted by people in your legislature. Right. That was not crafted by even people in this state. It was crafted from out of state interest. A lot of money was put behind it. And the issue there was they really didn't give any good options. It's not like you were given 5 options and you choose the best option. The option that was put forth to the vote of the people is what they were forced to vote on. And I think, as you stated, there was a whole lot of misinformation out there about what the current laws did and what the current situations were, and people not fully understanding what they were voting on, voted for a horrible bill that is, in my words, or in my thoughts, really were anti-woman.
Absolutely.
Anti-woman, anti-family, anti-health.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is, I do want to touch this issue, is we are not overturning the will of the people. What we are doing is giving another option out there, a better option that will protect women, will protect families, and will protect the children as well.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because early on, one of the big excuses in the opposition was, well, this overturns the will of the voters. Well, actually, it does not, because the only one who can approve this are the voters.
Correct.
This goes back to the voters. So first of all, it's not logical to make that statement. But secondly, even if it was, the will of the voters is not something that's static. We're ever changing. We're evolving in our opinions. We're evolving in the circumstances that surround us in our lives. That's what elections are for. Every cycle, we, the people, change our opinions on certain matters or certain candidates. And we send people to Jeff City, or we send them home, right? So it's just not the case. Yeah. The voters will make this decision. But I believe that this is much more in line, because remember, when Amendment 3 2 years ago came out, the voters were presented with a false dichotomy.
Yes.
They were told, well, women are dying. So we had pro-lifers. We even had pro-lifers voting for it, thinking, well, man, I'm pro-life, but I don't want any women to die. I mean, what do I do? And so we even had pro-lifers voting for it. This time, it's drafted in such a way, I think it's going to be more in line with the values.
We're here talking with Adam Schnelting, who's in the Missouri Senate. He's actually my state senator, so I'm really happy that.
You.
Yeah, I am. I've
got a good one too, though.
That's because we know how to vote in this district, Richard. That's why. Why we have Adam. But Adam, you touched on it before, and so did you, Richard, about the messaging. So the messaging last time was not truthful. And I think I've mentioned before that the person that opposes these amendments or these statutes don't have to put truth out there. They can put whatever they want out there. So how are we going to overcome that with the truth about what's in this newer Amendment 3? And how can we get that out to the voters we don't have much time left, in a very good way?
Yeah, great question, Jane. So a couple of things. For one, anytime you put a measure on the ballot, there's never a guarantee. Man, I wish there was sometimes, right? You put your heart and your soul and your work into something. You got a ton of grassroots support, and a lot of folks are pouring their hearts out, going around the state, traveling and supporting Amendment 3, for instance. But there's never a guarantee. We will be outspent. There's no doubt of that. You saw recently where Michael Bloomberg gave another $1.25 million to the Planned Parenthood, Abortion Action Now sector of this debate. He did that last time. In order to get abortion on demand in our Constitution 2 years ago, he gave over $1 million. Most of the money, the majority of the money actually, to get the old Amendment 3 into our Constitution came from New York City, Las Vegas, and Washington, D.C.
Oh.
So you let that sink in. Some people are like, "Wow, the value Missouri values were not represented by that amendment 2 years ago." But here's the thing: the good news is we don't have to have as much money as our opponents. We just have to have enough money to get our message out. You saw that with my own state Senate race. I was outspent 4-1. They spent $1 million against me. I raised $240,000. We still won.
Yeah.
You got to have a sharp message. You got to have an honest message, and you got to be sincere and authentic with people, because people see through, phony, for the lack of a better term. So we're presenting an honest case before the voters of, this is what Amendment 3 does. This is what the old Amendment 3 did. And these are the reasons we got to change this amendment this upcoming November. So I'm hopeful, but we will see what the voters decide.
One of the things I'm hopeful about is I've seen on the old Amendment 3, the churches stayed silent. Our religious entities stayed silent on it, because I think they were really confused, and their constituents for the churches were confused as well. Even in the small town in which I live, I had a lot of people saying, well, women don't get a choice now. Women are dying. Women are this and that. And you try to explain to them, but the churches stayed silent on it. And after the old Amendment 3 happened and some of these court cases were coming down saying, oh no, that's the way it's going to be, I think it opened up a lot of people's eyes saying, oh, maybe they were telling us the truth. And I think a lot more of our leadership in churches and the constituents in the churches, I'm hearing a lot more talk about it. I think that is, we've done a very good job of getting our message out there. And the leaders of the churches, I have to give them some kudos this time, because they're really picking this ball up and putting it out there as well.
And that I think that's one of the things that you and I totally agree on, that the churches do need to get involved. And I think that the pastors out there that are involved, and if you're listening and you're not, please do. The problem is that, what the pastors hear, from what I've been told, is that, oh, well, don't get political. Well, you know what? Thou shalt not murder is one of the big 10. And so for a pastor, I think, to turn their back on him is not truly leading his flock. And I encourage all pastors to get involved.
Yeah, I'm encouraged by the fact that the Missouri Baptist Convention came out in support of Amendment 3, and they're making, they've given their full-throated endorsement and support. I want to say it was the Catholic, I don't want to confuse the conference with the bishops, but one of the factions of the Catholic Church has also done the same thing.
Yeah, I know they've really, I'm Catholic, the Catholics have really picked up their game on this.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm grateful for all the churches that are getting involved. And you're right. I think it's a little different this time than it was last time. My hope, my prayer, obviously, is that we continue to engage. And like Jane said, any of the pastors listening, if you need assistance and help how to engage, and how you can, how you feel you can walk that line, reach out to us. I mean, we'll gladly help you to engage folks. Because again, like Jane said, I mean, you're not getting political. You are speaking truth about a very real issue that affects human lives. You're affecting the mother. You're affecting the child. And remember, loving your neighbor. That's what you do in politics. You can't love your neighbor if you just completely disengage from politics and say, well, I'm not going to help, even if you're talking about policy that really impacts someone. That's one of the ways that you love your neighbor.
Yeah,
precisely.
So, well, Adam, we'll be going on break here shortly. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Amendment 7, but before we do that, I want to tie up on Amendment 3. So outside of the churches and outside of like people like yourself and Jane and myself here, what else are we doing? I know that like at my business, Overstock Outlet on Highway Inn, you could pick up signage for your yards free of charge, and just come on up and we'll give them to you. You can put the signs out, your church, your yard, wherever you'd like. But what else are we doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So you can do the same at Corral Roofing Company in O'Fallon. We have signs that you can come to our office and pick up. So several things. We're doing a lot of speaking engagements all around the state. There's a ton of volunteers. I'm doing it. Some of them I just don't advertise it a lot on social media, but we're traveling. We're doing that. And really engaging folks at the door, knocking on doors. We need volunteers to sign up. In fact, we actually have paid positions because we have some private donors who have said, hey, you know what? Look, I can afford XYZ amount, and I want to help you afford door knockers who, maybe they need a temporary job. So But yeah, it's a grassroots game, ground game.
I know Missouri Right to Life is backing this 100% too, so I hope they are very active in getting the message out. So in the few seconds that we have left, I just want to thank Adam for his discussion about Amendment 3, and hopefully we'll sway some people to get out and vote yes on Amendment 3. In the meantime, we're going to go on break, and we'll be right back.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
Welcome back, and thanks for returning with us here at St. Charles Patriot Radio. I'm your host, Richard West, and I have with me Jane Pushkar today. She's my co-host, of course. Yeah. And bam.
Oh, yeah, he said it. He said it. I can't believe
in there. But today we're talking with Senator Adam Schnelting from the 23rd Senatorial District in the state of Missouri, which is probably, I would say, Central East St. Charles County.
Yeah, East St. Charles County. Basically, Highway 79 East.
Okay. Well, good. Good. And in our last segment, we're going to continue on this segment. We were talking about Amendment 3, which is, to me, a pro-life vote yes. I hate to call it an abortion bill because it's just not an abortion bill. To me, it's women's health and family health bill. But
yeah, what needs to not get lost in all this, Rich, is yes, it limits abortions. It does that.
Sure.
It reinstitutes health and safety standards for women in clinics. That's a huge piece of it because when the courts, when the old Amendment 3 2 years ago passed, the courts ruled, okay, we're going to peel back these restrictions on abortion on health facilities and abortion clinics. So it took away the licensing requirements and certain health and safety standards overnight, a lot of them. And so it's also a matter of health and safety in these clinics. And then lastly, of course, the third piece of this is that it's going to protect kids from being trans surgeries, right?
Yeah, and we could have a whole show on that issue alone, but it is a big part of this. We talked a little bit about what we're doing and what the churches are doing. Are there any rallies or anything coming up in the future that?
I'm glad you asked.
Oh, well.
So, okay. So yes, two things. So I decided I wanted to get an Amendment 3 rally together. Mm-hmm. Okay. But simultaneously, there's something I've been thinking about for a while as it pertains to St. Charles County politics. And that has been the unity of Republicans and conservatives and folks who would kind of more or less identify as conservative, right?
Sure.
There's been a lot of confusion and bickering and infighting in the back and forth and attacking one another. And quite frankly, I mean, it's not helpful. The bottom line is none of us are going to agree 100% all the time. That's just a reality, right? But once you get beyond the primaries and once you've supported your opponents, if your guy loses, you got to come together. You got to coalesce and say, hey, listen, I get it. He and I only agree 80% of the time, but you know what? It's way better than the options I'm being presented over here.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is on October 1st, people can mark their calendars as a save the date. We're going to do a big Republican, we'll just call it a unity rally, but it's going to be an A3/Republican rally where folks we're going to get together and we're going to remember why we're fighting. We're actually not fighting each other. We are going to fight bad policies from the left.
Sure.
I understand the doors open up at 6. I know that they're going to have some light appetizers and a cash bar.
Yep, at Old Hickory Golf Course in St. Peter's.
Do you have to RSVP in advance, or can you just show up?
We will create. No, you can show up. We will create a Facebook event that we'll put out there, and folks can just click on it. And that helps us. It gives us an idea of how much room, how much space we need, how much food we need to order. But no, it's like if you can't make it until the last minute, that's fine. Join us anyway. In addition to that, I will say that kids are welcome. Remember, we're the party. We're the pro-life party. We're the party of family. Yeah. And so we want it to be a family-friendly
event.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to get involved or if they'd like to help monetarily or in any way, where can they reach out to find out more about this and or volunteer time or resources?
Great question. I would say reach out to the Central Committee. Reach out specifically to Debbie McFarland on the Central Committee. If you don't know Debbie, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Facebook. That's fine. The event is free, so you don't have to pay anything to come. Again, we want to make this as big a rally as possible.
Sure.
We're going to have all the Republican candidates there, want their yard signs and some literature so they can pass that on to folks there as well.
Do you mind giving out your senatorial email address?
Yeah, no, it's Adam. Well, not my Senate email address.
Well, okay, whatever email
I can
address.
give you can email it at adamschnelting@gmail.com. It's my personal email.
Great.
If you got a question or something, just shoot it there. adamschnelting@gmail.
Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'm going to be
too.
involved in it quite heavily. Jane?
I am too.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah, can't wait to be there.
So let's, before we head off into Amendment 7, which I do want to talk about because, I learned a lot while I sat. Well, of course, I read the bills, but while we were sitting there having conversation in the chambers of the House, there's a lot of really good information and talk that came out about that. But before we do, let's just finish up with the Amendment 3 process. So we've talked about the churches, we've talked about what we're doing, we've talked about some rallies. If you're just an everyday Joe and you want to get involved or you want to express your opinions, what is the best way for them to do that?
Well, if you want to get involved with the campaign for A3, I mean, you can reach out to if you're in St. Charles County specifically, all of our reps, I mean, we're supportive of Amendment 3. You can reach out to your rep and ask, hey, how can I get involved? But one of the bigger ways is you can reach out to Missouri Right to Life, and you can also reach out to Her Health, Her Future PAC. It's a political action committee designed specifically just to support Amendment 3. But you can reach out to either one. I think it's herhealthherfuture.com. But you can reach out to either one, and we're wanting to remain engaged. I mean, I know our church, Grace Church in Maryland Heights, we're very involved. We've got a lot of folks who are volunteering their time, knocking on doors, informing voters. You could come on a Saturday. In fact, I think we're doing a training event at the church this Saturday at 9 a.m. So folks can come and join us for that actually, and come and be a part.
I know we've handed out about between 2,500 and 3,000 signs from the front of our store already to people that are very interested in pushing the knowledge of people to get out and vote and try to assure the people that this is not necessarily
overturning the will of the people.
But I mean,
at all.
No, it's not. I mean, the voters have to approve it.
That's right.
But I think the voters are giving a much better option to vote for than what they had.
That's true.
Well, listen, last time voters were faced with a false dichotomy.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. It was a false dichotomy. Women were not dying in our hospitals from an inability to get health care.
Women
they
were
were not dying from miscarriages.
Women are dying now because they are getting health care, meaning botched abortions and the follow-up that is not needed, the safety precautions that need to be taken that are not being taken under this current.
Because they were stripped away. Because immediately, within 24 hours, Planned Parenthood immediately went after and sued the state for all of the health and safety standards for women in all the clinics as soon as the old Amendment 3 passed.
So I mean, the bottom line is this. We're presenting the voters with something that's much more in line with their values as it pertains to the abortion aspect, the health and safety standards aspect, and even as it pertains to the transgender surgeries for kids aspect. So instead of having that false dichotomy, they're going to have something that's more in line with their values. Yeah, I couldn't believe, real quick before we go on, I couldn't believe that we actually had opposition to the Born Alive bill in the House this year. And basically for the listeners, that's if a child is born while during a botched abortion, that they want to be able to kill that child while it's on the table there.
Yeah.
And that's,
it's incredible, isn't it?
Before we move on too, we're here talking with Adam Schnelting from District 32. He's my state senator, and I venture to say the best one in the state, but I'll leave that discussion for another time. But we've talked about one contentious, statute or referendum on the ballot. We're about to venture into another one. And my point of bringing up the fact that there's a lot of contention is that we as Republicans, as Adam has alluded to, we tend to turn the wagons inward. So as we move on to the next one, which is going to probably create just as much toxic discussion at times than as the other one, I'm going to encourage everybody to understand that it is okay to disagree. Anybody that's been married for any length of time knows that it's okay to disagree, but you can do it with respect.
Sure, right.
I've had some really difficult discussions with people I disagreed with. And I'm not saying they always went well, but I found that if I did my part and remained respectful, the other person most of the time did too. So I'm just going to encourage that for people out there. Think before you put toxic remarks on Facebook, please.
It's hard to call those back in.
It is. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that.
All right. So let's venture off into Amendment 7, which is a whole different topic, but at the same time, another piece of legislation brought forth by you, Senator. And it's forward thinking. I mean, you're really thinking about the future in the state of Missouri. And we get accused oftentimes of not doing that, of being very political in the moment and not paying attention to what's going to happen down the road.
Right.
Yeah. So, who could better describe this than yourself? Was this a bill that you wrote and, presented?
Yeah. So it was SJR 95 in the legislature this year. So what Amendment 7 does, well, actually, I should back up just slightly. Every year we tax our citizens on their homes in which they live, their cars that they drive, and
breathing.
We're taxed on our income. We're taxed on everything that we purchase. We're taxed out of house and home. Okay, I want us to get away from that. And that's not going to happen in our immediate generation. But I got to thinking about something. I learned a principle from Benjamin Franklin years ago through his writings that compound interest is a very powerful thing. Mm-hmm. So I thought to myself, let's reimagine how we fund government operations in perpetuity.
Okay. And
so one of the ways that we can do that is this. I presented Amendment 7. It's on the ballot. What it does is it's an endowment fund, a sovereign wealth fund, that if the voters approve it, it'll create a fund. In that fund, the state will place a one-time investment into the fund and just let it ride. And it'll track the S&P 500.
Okay.
And it'll do that for a period of time while it grows exponentially through compound interest. And when the fund is large enough that we can actually withdraw enough money annually to replace our state revenue, we would then be obligated as a state to eliminate our state-imposed taxes and replace the revenue from the tax generated from our taxes, replace it with the annual distributions.
It's rather brilliant because that's the way the colleges and university survive with their endowments.
Sure,
I mean,
absolutely.
You're creating an endowment for the state of Missouri.
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, Jane, because what a lot of folks don't realize is a lot of universities and in the private sector, folks have caught on to this concept of compound interest. The government is lagging behind on this. So what's happening is you've got universities who are creating these endowment funds to get away from the traditional model of reliance on tuition and on government assistance. Mm-hmm. And so what we need to do is say, you know what, we're going to take advantage of time tracking the S&P 500, which is an investment into the American economy with good returns. Mm-hmm. And over a course of a couple of generations, Missouri can be the first state in the nation that doesn't tax its citizens any longer.
This sounds like a great idea, but I'm sure there's been some pushback. Let's try to, we've only got a couple of minutes, but what has been the biggest pushback or naysayers, what they're saying about this?
I would say two things. People are concerned that has something to do with Amendment 5. It has zero to do with Amendment 5. I crafted this, it was about a little over a year ago, long before Amendment 5 ever came through the legislature. This is something I've been working on because my wife and I have essentially the same thing, an endowment fund for our grandkids and generations beyond that. And we have one for the propagation of the gospel in 100 years from now that folks can apply to that if they're a minister or a church. They can break into that, and the fund will be enormous by that time. But we're only putting in a small amount now. I'll say this real quickly. If you put $100 a month into the S&P 500 from age 18 to age 65, by the time you retire, you will only have placed $56,000 into that into the S&P. Mm-hmm. Now, you will have roughly $1.3 million because of compound interest.
Sure.
So what we have to do, and what I'm proposing, is that we harness the power of compound interest through investment in the American economy and ultimately eliminate taxes. And again, this is all in the amendment that folks are voting on. There's no question marks. The only question mark you could say that is involved with this amendment is it doesn't dictate how much we invest into this new fund if the voters create it. we are going to cut waste. We're going to find the money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the power is not in the amount of the initial one-time investment. It can be a smaller investment. It doesn't have to be really large. The power is in the time. Because again, we're talking about compounding.
There's a reason that they call it the eighth wonder of the world.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Real quick, finding the money won't be hard. I'm sorry. I've been on the state budget. I was on the state budget for 4.5 years, and I don't think finding that money is going to be hard. It's going to be easy to find, but
there's waste, isn't there?
Yeah. We had a lot of good discussion. Unfortunately, we don't have too much more time to talk about it. Jane?
No, I was just going to say, I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you, Adam, for coming in. And would it hurt you to push that like or subscribe button? Please do that. And please download the app for hassle-free listening. Adam, thank you again. Such great knowledge that you've given all of us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Senator. Appreciate it.
St. Charles Patriot Radio with Missouri State Representative Richard West and former Francis Howell School Board member Jane Pushkar.
And bam, we're back. Thank you, everybody, for staying with us. I'm laughing, Richard. It's not funny. Anyway, we're here today, and we're going to talk with Kate Sickles, who is the Amendment 3 coordinator for Freedom Principle Missouri.org, if you want to go to their website. Kate's been a volunteer and a very effective one for a very long time. We asked her back to talk about Amendment 3 because we believe that there's a lot of importance in getting the word out about this amendment, because there's a lot of mistrust or untruth or whatever you want to call it. So we just kind of clear the fog. And I kind of believe that besides our last segments with Adam, Kate Sickles is one of the best people to do that. So Kate, give us an update on A3, where it's at, what we're doing, and how we can help.
So a big way that we're asking for help right now is through door knocking campaigns. We've actually got one going every Saturday morning in St. Charles County. Marty Bennett is in charge of that. And at 11:30 a.m. every Saturday morning at the Bread Co. At the 6195 Mid Rivers Mall Drive. It's not the one in the mall. It's the one in a strip mall that's right near the corner of 364 and Mid Rivers Mall Drive. But they're just meeting there at 11:30 in the morning. Marty gives them all the information they need, and they bring their Numenar app on their phone, and they just go and door knock for Amendment 3. So we're just trying to get the word out and get the truth out about what's happening right now.
I'm glad you're doing that. Do you know about how many people you expect to show up? If it's not
I don't know what he's been averaging. But now for the first time they have added, they're going to be paying $25 an hour for door knockers if they do at least 20 hours a week. So we're really ramping it up now.
That's fantastic.
Wow. Good afternoon, Kate. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you.
We just had Senator Adam Schnelting on, and we had some good discussions about Amendment 3. What's your take on this? How are you feeling about the general acceptance from the public when we're just trying to do some education on this? What's the reception on that?
I think the reception is great when people hear what's actually in it and what Amendment 3 will do to get us back to a pro-life state and get the ban back for transgender surgeries and for minors. But I think there's the other side is trying to say that we already have the transgender portion, which isn't true, because we do have a law against transgenderism for kids, but Article 1, Section 36, anything in the Constitution overrides the laws. So what we're trying to help people understand is that as long as Article 1, Section 36 is in our Constitution, those laws are invalid for now.
Right.
So we need to get that Amendment 3 passed to get that ban back for transgender surgeries and procedures for minors.
I know that they had those procedures that were done. I think it was at the Washington University,
Mm-hmm.
and that was basically, I guess, shut down because I know they stopped giving out testosterone and things like that. Do we know of other places in Missouri where this is happening?
I believe there are other places, and I'm not 100% sure that WashU is completely shut down on this either. So
okay.
Jamie Reed, the whistleblower for the WashU, is actually going to be at the Pear Lodge on September 10th talking about her story and what happened there. So that would be a great, it's at 6 p.m. at the Pear Lodge, which would be a great thing for people to go and learn more about the whole transgender side of this.
Right.
So in St. Charles County, we're going to be hosting on October 1st, I believe it was. Adam Schnelting is going to be hosting an event. Will you be at that event?
Yes, I will. I would definitely try to be there.
So yeah, we talked, I'm going to kind of rehash a little bit to kind of get your take on things. How are you feeling about religion in this issue? I know last time the churches really kind of left us high and dry by just not getting involved. And I think a lot of their memberships in the churches did not get involved for this reason because of the confusion. Are you seeing a change in that atmosphere?
Yes, definitely. The Catholic Church has stepped up big time. All four of the archdiocese are working hard, and in particular, the St. Louis Archdiocese, they are 100% in. They are trying to get all of their parishes to get signs up, and they put out some beautiful palm cards that they've got ready for people to give out as well. I've been to a couple of the Lutheran circuit meetings with pastors that are very interested in getting involved, and I just found out about a statewide pastors briefing Zoom call that's going to happen on September 1st. And so that we're trying to get that word out to pastors to sign up for that, so that to just kind of encourage all the pastors across the state, no matter what denomination they are, to get involved and get excited and get their congregations out working to get this passed. So yeah, it's really encouraging.
We're here talking with Kate Sickles, the Amendment 3 coordinator for Freedom Principle, a real patriot and advocate for not against abortion. Yeah, I kind of messed over that one. Anyway, Kate, I have a question for you, because we've talked too in the last segments about messaging. It has to be clear. It has to be concise. It has to be understandable. And above all, it has to be truth. Mm-hmm. What can you tell me about what messaging, as people go door knocking, or say the pastor's on the call, what sharp message do you think would be most effective being either given to the pastor so that they can pass that on to their members, or people that are door knocking, what they can say in, well, we call it a 30-second elevator speech?
Yeah, I think there's two things. The making sure that we protect children by banning the transgender procedures, the sex change operations, and the drugs. I think the other big one that is the health and safety standards. Catherine Hanaway has said that over 170 health and safety standards are now blocked. So it is actually the most dangerous abortions right now are the most dangerous procedures in the state of Missouri, medical procedures. And so people need to know that. They need to understand that you need more safety standards for an appendectomy than you do for an abortion right now, or for transgender surgeries. So people need to understand that those are blocked. And until we get Article 1, Section 36 ripped out of the Constitution, they will remain blocked. And no legislature can make any new laws. So we need people to understand the dangerous situation we're in right now.
For years, we've heard that women are dying because they can't get health care, and that health care would be abortion. But the fact of the matter is, and I will say it again, women are dying because they're getting health care, but it's inadequate health care because, as you just said, all the regulations have been removed. And as a retired nurse, that just breaks my heart. Women deserve much better than to be treated like that. So
yes, and it's dangerous because they don't understand the risks to 70% of abortions now are chemical abortions. Mm-hmm. And 11% of those women are going to end up in the hospital. And you've got these going on at campuses. I just got a text message from a friend saying that the Planned Parenthood now in Springfield, Missouri is now doling out the medications. So it's the fifth. So they're hitting all the college campuses now, the Planned Parenthoods, to roll out these drugs. And these kids just think it's like taking a Tylenol, and it's just not. No, it's very dangerous. It's 4 times more dangerous than a surgical abortion.
Right. Hemorrhaging, sepsis, all of
infection,
Right.
And an incomplete abortion where they have to go back in and take the rest of the baby.
All right, I'm going to throw a curveball at you here.
Okay.
So, of course, I'm 100% in support of this. I was 100% supportive of the laws that we had before the last Amendment 3. How on the back end of this, because I do believe we will win. I do believe Amendment 3 will be passed and this will be stripped out of our Constitution. But I kind of want to get something from you because I think it's important for people to know this. How are we going to educate the public on the back end? How are we going to take care of these folks that have now, they're, as you said, they're going to the college campuses and they're spreading all this, all this information out there that you can get this and you can do that, basically advocating for unprotected sex because now you can just get an abortion. Are we on the back end as pro-life people, are we going to try to continue our education in that arena to help, I guess protect would be a good word, the women on the backside to say, look, we've got your back. We're going to help you in this arena as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that all of us who are pro-life and really want abortions to end completely, there's a lot that we need to do. We need to educate people, especially from the pulpits, I believe, on what abortion really is and why it's so dangerous for women. We need to reinstate all those health and safety laws, but then we need to put more laws in too that help, because people do learn from laws. And so we also need to make sure that these chemical abortion drugs are not getting into our state. And that will be more legislation after Amendment 3 passes, which will have to come. But yeah, this is a heart issue and it's a mind issue that we have to change the hearts and minds of people to make abortion unthinkable again. And that is going to take time. You can't go 50 years with people thinking they can, that they could kill their children in their womb and then think it's okay tomorrow because the law is gone. So we have a lot of heart and mind changing to do. And I think that has to start at the church level and we as the salt and light getting that word out there.
Yes, it's not just a clump of cells as the young ladies have been lied to for years and years and years.
Right.
Amazing.
All right, Kate. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. And I know that there's, let's say we spoke a little bit earlier, but you probably know of a few more locations where either people can gather to help, which you've named one already in St. Charles County, but are there more outside of St. Charles? And where can they go to maybe get signage and or just information on this issue?
Yeah, I think the central committees are a good place to get the signage for it. I know Bobino in the St. Charles area has been trying to gather signs and paperwork for people to pick up. The GOP office in Fenton, Missouri is every Saturday as well. They're meeting at 9 a.m. to get door knockers. And then this Saturday at Grace Church at 9 a.m., there's going to be a training and followed up by going out door to door in pairs to help people get more comfortable with door knocking as well. And Marty Bennett's doing that training there as well. So that one is just at Grace Church in Maryland Heights. And it is, you go into atrium door B, so that because it's a big campus.
It's a huge campus.
Yeah. So if you go into door B there and just show up, and we would love to have you come and learn and feel more comfortable going door to door.
And that's this Saturday.
That's this Saturday, yeah.
At what time?
At Grace Church at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Be there.
Yeah, because this Saturday in Fenton, it's going to be switched to Grace Church just for this Saturday.
Oh, okay. So
it'll be back and then it'll be back at Fenton at 9 o'clock every Saturday after that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you brought up a couple like September the 10th and then this weekend and going to the Central Committee meetings or contacting the people on the Central Committee. There's another event that I it's a branch off from what we're talking about, Amendment 3, but something that I believe is just as important. And that is on September the 25th, Nick Shirley's coming to town. And yeah. And so he's going to talk about the fraud and abuse. And this is kind of connected because there's a lot of fraud and abuse in Medicare and Medicaid and abortion rights and things like that. Yes. So I encourage everybody, if you're interested in going to that, all you have to do is go to newstalk.com And it's the first thing that comes up on my phone when I Google that. And so it'll give you all the information that you need. It's on September the 25th. Doors open at 5. I think the event starts at 6. Tickets are $100 and upwards with a $6 fee. But I encourage anybody that can afford it and would like to go because I think his message is also very important. It's not only the fraud that we hear about in Medicare and Medicaid, but they pass around fraud in what they've said is going to, with the past Amendment 3 that, children are that, no, we're not okaying transitional surgery on minors, which they were. And there's just all kinds of lies and fraud that go on. And I think...
Well, and there's a lot of fraud that just came out about that with how they're billing those so that it is fraudulent that's coming through for the transgender surgeries and the drugs, and that they're saying they're putting codes on them so that they'll get covered by insurance and through Medicaid. So, yeah, it's definitely part of the fraud.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, as somebody who was in that business for a couple of years, investigating the other end of the fraud, I was investigating the Medicare Medicaid fraud, and through our state, I handled 8 states. It's amazing because as soon as the companies figure out one way to do it, they spread that knowledge throughout themselves, and then they attack that system, get their money, and then when it's found out, they all leave like a bunch of ants, and they find another way that somebody's been working on, and they just move. And a lot of it has to do with coding, and a lot of they just move these codes around and figure out how to manipulate that system. And I just think that's a huge issue.
Kate, I want to thank you for being with us this week, and we hope to have you back again to give us an update on the things that have happened and the accomplishments that you've made along the way before the election. So my hat's off to you. Thanks for all the hard work that you do and all the information that you give off. And in the meantime, we're going to close now, and thank you, Richard, for being here with me. And also, please push that like button and download the app so that you can have hassle-free listening. St. Charles Patriot Radio. See you next week.